Today I've got my 1967 Barracuda up in the garage, just trying to freshen up a couple things. What I'm going to do, there might be a couple videos of this out there. I'm going to go over how to switch the pumpkin out, or the chunk, right in there. And it's pretty easy actually. If you got a 8 3/4 Mopar rear end, and then I have 3 of them chunks. I'll show you the difference in them and how to easily tell what gear ratio you have in it without even taking it out, if you don't know already. But some people don't, so why not? All right, let's get to it. All right, first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna take the bolts out for the drive shaft. We'll get this out of the way. Okay, I've got the drive shaft out. I took some electrical tape and wrapped around the U-joints. You don't want to lose these caps. If you bump this, have a cap come off, then you got dirt all in there. It's not good, not good. 7/16 wrench pulls these right off. And that's what size these are anyways. Your caps may vary, but these are 7/16. So now we're gonna pull these out and pull that pumpkin loose. But first, before we do that, we gotta pull the axles. So behind here, I've already loosened a couple, and this car has Mopar axles in it, and they did not put the hole in the flange. So a lot of times you'll have a hole in your flange, you can run your socket right through there. This one I got to wrench it off. So yeah, pull these 5 bolts or nuts loose rather, and this axle will just slide out. You have to get the axle out before you can pull the pumpkin loose. So I'll show you. I'll get this out, slide it out, and we'll move on to the pumpkin after that. Or the chunk. I think Mopar guys call them a chunk. Or the sure grip. I call it a sure grip or pumpkin, whatever. You get it. Okay, got the axles out. These nuts here, they just hold the flange on. It's a 9/16. In this case, it's a wrench. Usually these flanges will have a hole for your socket to go through. And then, like I said, this is a Mopar axle, so they have a sealed bearing that has a O-ring right here, goes in the axle housing. These usually, this seal here is like an extra, just in case something slips back there, doesn't get out in your brakes. Keeps the dust out of the inside too. So that sometimes will tear, but if you're in a pinch, you can use silicone in there. It's more of a dust seal, since this has an O-ring seal, kind of makes that one a little redundant. But anyway, so you just slide the axle out. You don't have to take them completely out. You can just leave them just like this. It's just, you gotta get the splines out of the pumpkin, or the sure grip in there. So now I'm gonna go pull that guy out there, and then I'll show it to you. Okay, I've got 3 of my sure grips laying here. This is one I just took out. This is one I've had. This is out of my 71 Dart, and these are both 391 gears. This was in my Barracuda. It was said to be a 355, but it's not. It's a 391. You could look. Let me zoom in here. Oh boy. I don't know if you could see it right there. 3.91. And same here. This one's a little easier to see. This is factory. See the little symbol there? Dodge Plymouth Dodge Plymouth Chrysler DeSoto. Or is it DeSoto Plymouth Chrysler Dodge? Whichever. All old Mopar stuff had that symbol on it, even the blocks, whatever. This is what I'm putting in. This is a 323, and you can see it on the gear. 323, and I painted it orange because obviously that makes it go faster. One way to tell if you have this in the car and you're not sure, I'm going to put a mark on here, right here. Let's put a mark there with chalk. See it? Good. Okay, now we're going to turn the yoke. Whoops, there's our mark there. Let's put them back. So we're going to turn, let's say our drive shaft is here and our axle is hooked to here. So you could put a mark on your tire if this is still on the car. You turn this. 1, 2, 3. Now I said this is a 323, so here's our mark coming around. And about a quarter turn. So 3 1/4 turns. Here is 1 revolution on your axle. So that would be 3 turns, and here's about a quarter. 323. Now, same thing with these. I'm trying to do this single-handedly here, but let's put a mark here. I said this is a 391. And we got the yoke straight. Yeah, let's put a new mark there. There we go. Slide them off. Let's get them in the shade. Okay, here's a mark. So I'm going to go around. Hard to see on this guy because of the shield or the snubber on there. That's a pinion snubber, by the way. It keeps your rear end from coming up going through your floor. Keeps the twist out of it. All right, so here we go. 1, 2, 3. Here comes the mark. And here's almost 4. So if you had a 410, it'd be, your mark would be back here somewhere. But this is 391, so it's going to be right before 4 turns on the yoke. So you get it. If your axle was in there, pretend your axle's in there and your tire's on the car, you want to check your gear ratio, that's how you do it. Pretty easy. Some people don't know that. But if you don't know, now you know. You can check your gear ratio if you buy a car and you want to confirm, or before you change your rear end out, you can look. So anyway, back to these numbers. The 489 is a great center section. They're a little stronger, but so is the 741. I mean, they use these in rail cars back in the 60s, 70s, and they were pretty strong. I mean, unless you're beating the pulp out of your car, usually the guys with the stick shifts like these, because they get a little more snap off the line. If you're running slicks and you're whole shotting this thing and all that stuff, yeah, you're gonna want one of these. But I'm just putting this in as a, I'm driving this car on the road right now. I have a couple of car shows further away I want to cruise to, and this will significantly drop the, I don't want to say significantly, it'll drop my RPMs a couple hundred, few hundred RPM. Try to keep the R's off the engine. It's a big block in there, so oops, looky there, it's bleeding. But I could always go back to this if I put an overdrive in or bigger tires. I run relatively short tires, so that rear end's going to work good. And I'm not worried about blowing it up. If it happens, it happens. My ultimate goal is I want to put a Dana in the car anyway. But for right now, I could switch these out and change gears pretty easily and decide what gear I really like in there before I commit to a Dana. Once you put a Dana in there, you're not switching them out as easy. It's a more intense gear changeover situation. You gotta reset up the rear end and all that. So anyway, I'm gonna put these back in and or that one. Okay, I've got the center section in. You can see it right there. Hemi orange. Yeah. Drums are on. I had a small problem. See a drive shaft laying there still? There's a reason for that. I overlooked something here, and U-joints are different. Here's what they call this a 7290 style yoke joint, U-joint yoke. And here's the difference. Look at a measuring stick. This would be, I believe they call it 7260. Most of your A bodies took a 7260. This one has been converted. I'm sure I can go. I'm not that far from Mopar City. I know Larry Potnack out there. He's a pretty cool guy. We can get to know him actually. He's the Mopar god of Mopar parts. Well, around here he is. I could swap drive shafts, but I want to keep the bigger drive shaft. So I went to Dr. Diff, ordered a new yoke, 10 spline. That's just because I know that's what this one is. 7290 yoke. I'll have it in a few days. It's all right. So anyway, I think you have enough information if you want to swap one of these out. Check Craigslist, check Marketplace, whatever. You should be able to pick one of these up for $400-500. Some guys are asking $1,200. That's just crazy money. Crazy money. But I grab them. If I get a good deal on one, I'll grab it. Just keep it around. These are my only two spares now. They're not as easy to find as they used to be, but they're still out there. So anyway, if you want to swap one out, here's your video. So go for it. Good luck.